Hi everyone, my name is Jonathon Strauss. I'm the acting manager of the Future Students Office here at the University of New South Wales. Thank you for joining us for this Google Hangout on ATARs and bonus points and degrees here at the University of New South Wales. Congratulations to all of you on now that you've received your results, and we're happy to answer any of the questions that you have today about your ATAR, about your marks, but HSC Plus, and pathways into UNSW as well. So if you do have any of those questions, please feel free to submit them into the Q&A app part of this Hangout. I believe that's on the left-hand side or the right-hand side of the screen, and you can check that out there. And a couple of people have already asked questions, Thomas and Connor, and we'll get to those in just a few minutes. First of all, I'd like to introduce our two guests this afternoon. They are Sonia Nitchell, who is head of UAC admissions here at the university. Sonia, do you want to say hello?
Hi.
Thank you, Sonia. And also with us is Sophie Burrows, who is a student promotions officer in the Future Students Office at the university. Sophie, do you want to say hello as well?
Hi, everyone.
Excellent. So the first questions we're going to go through are not the questions that have been submitted, and I'd also just say that for those of you that have submitted a question on the actual Hangout listing on our Google Plus page, feel free to add those questions to the Q&A app here in the Hangout, because it'll make it easier for us to respond to those questions and probably a little bit quicker as well. So go ahead and add those questions again. And remember, submit your questions at any time, and we'll get to those questions as soon as we can. The first questions, though, that we're wanting to kind of go through are some of the basics, some of the things that probably most of you have questions about, or it might be good to just get a reminder of. And so I'm going to turn to Sonia for answers on some of these questions. So Sonia, would you be able to tell us what the ATAR cutoffs are going to be for semester 1, 2015?
I'd love to be able to tell you the answer to that question, Jonathan, but not even I know the answer. So the ATAR cutoffs for 2015 will be determined when we do the main round of offers, which is in January. So we find out the same time you do.
Yep. So main round in January is when we'll know what the ATAR cutoffs are. So everyone's kind of up in the air at the moment. We don't know.
January. Yep. So all we can do at this stage is look at last year's cutoffs, or the few years previous cutoffs, and to give us a bit of an idea of what the cutoff might be this year. It could be higher, it could be the same, or it could be lower. So it depends on how many people apply for particular courses and the strength of their academic qualifications. And we really don't preset it. I honestly don't know until the main round happens in January. So on the 21st of January, we'll all know what the cutoffs are.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Sonia. I'm going to go to you for another question as well, which is a question we get in the Future Students Office a fair bit as well, which is, how should I order my UAC preferences? What are the basic rules of thumb when it comes to ordering your preferences?
Okay, it's pretty straightforward. You order your preferences in the order that you most want to do, your most favoured course first, and then down the line. So it's important that put things in the order of the courses that you most want to do. So it doesn't matter if your preference is the third preference. Somebody who has that course as a higher preference but has a lower rank than you won't get an offer just because they've made it a higher preference. Students get quite confused about that. They think that we actually look at individual applicants and say, Jonathan, you and I are applying, and you had 85 and I had 70. But you had the course as your third preference and I had it as first preference. People sometimes think that I would get an offer because I have it as first preference, even though my ATAR is much lower than yours. Right? So the system looks at all your preferences, sees if you're eligible, and then makes you an offer to your highest eligible preference. So we can't tell you how to order them. You have to make the decision. You get 9 of them and you need to put them in the correct order. And the key time is the 7th of midnight on the 7th of January next year. So you can fiddle around with them to your heart's content, and by then, though, you need to have them locked in for the main round of offers.
And Sophie, I'm going to turn to you with a question there. One of the really great days that the university puts on is Info Day, which is on Tuesday the 6th of January this coming year, and that's a great day that is before the actual close of preferences. Can you talk to us a little bit about why you might attend Info Day and what would be a really good reason to be there?
I guess if you're unsure about at that stage, if you're still unsure about what you would like to study, you can come along. It's a great opportunity to speak to faculty, staff, and academics. So you can get more of an idea about the degrees that we have on offer at UNSW. So if you are uncertain, it's a great day to come along and have all of your questions answered in one place.
And like Sonia was just saying, it's still before the close of preferences, so you still have time to adjust those preferences in your UAC preference list if you find out any information on InfoDay that makes you want to change those preferences up just a little bit as well. Excellent. Thank you both for those answers. The next question, I'm going to go back to you again, Sonia. So I think you've mentioned this already, but we'll just emphasize it again. When will main round offers be released? What will that date be?
21st of January. We only make offers. There's a early, what's called the early January round, or January round 1 it's called now, just when we come back after Christmas. UNSW only uses that round to make offers to ADFA. So we make 300 or 400 offers to people that are going to ADFA, our UNSW Canberra campus, and we make them in that early round because they need to be down in Canberra to start their gung-ho military training carry-on, and they need to get down there in time. So we make those offers early. All our other offers we make in the main round. So that's when the majority of our offers will be made.
Wonderful, thank you. And ultimately, how do you accept an offer to UNSW? Is it made via the university's admission center? What do I do to accept an offer?
No, it's really straightforward. People can accept their offer to us and even enrol in their courses from anywhere in the world. All you need is internet access. So if you get an offer to us, you will find out on the 21st of January. Actually, a bit earlier this year, the offers didn't used to be released until about 9 o'clock. This year, they're going to be released by UAC at about 6 o'clock in the afternoon. You'll get an offer that night, and straight away you'll be able to log on to our website, UNSW's website, to accept your offer and enrol in courses straight away if you wish. And you can do that from anywhere in the world.
Exactly. So if you are overseas, there's no problem for you to accept your offer. You can do that from wherever you have an internet connection, essentially, right?
That's exactly right. Yep.
Perfect.
You have about 10 days to accept anyway, so usually there's not many places that people can be in the world these days where you can't get to internet within 10 days. So.
Exactly. So it's a whole 10 days. Once offers are made in the main round, you have 10 days to accept that offer. Any time in that 10 days, you just need to get an internet connection. And then, Sonia, you also mentioned that you can enroll at the same time. So you can actually start selecting your classes at the exact same time.
Yeah, which is why, Jonathan, thousands of people accept in that very first night. So that, they come out at 6 o'clock. It used to be 9 o'clock. We have a look the next morning at how many people have accepted their offer, and already 2,000 or 3,000 people have already done it. So, and part of that is that they want to do what you're saying, which is get in there and start getting enrolled in their courses.
One of the great things we have at UNSW that you don't actually have to queue up into a line and go stand in a line to register for classes and get signed up for classes. You can do it all online, all via the website. So that's one of the really great things. So do keep that in mind. You can apply, you can accept your offer from anywhere in the world as long as you have an internet connection, and that will make your life pretty simple and straightforward once that main round offer does come out in the middle of January. My next question is
something there, darling. You don't have to enroll either straight away. Some courses, it depends what program you've got an offer to. So some of our programs have set courses in first year. You don't actually have to think very much to choose courses because your program says you do these 4 courses in the first half of the year. Other programs like arts or science, for example, there's hundreds of courses that you can choose, and you actually get to think about it and pick courses. So the university runs enrolment advising sessions. The faculties will have staff that you can come in and chat to and finalise your enrolment. So you can do that a bit later on in January and February as well.
And we also have an enrollment support center, so if anyone's ever struggling, you'll get information about how to enroll and also how to contact that enrollment support center if you do need help. They'll be fully staffed once offers do come out in January. In fact, I think they're open as of the beginning of January of next year for those students accepting early offers as well. My next question is going to be that tricky question, which is, what if I don't get an offer to my first preference, my first UAC preference? What should I do? What's the next step to consider? And I'll leave that still with you, Sonia, and I'll turn to Sophie for some answer there as well.
Well, it depends if you get an offer at all, I guess. You've got 9 preferences when you're applying through UAC. Chances are you may get an offer somewhere. You might not get the course that is the course that you preferred. So what you really want to do, you might not meet the cutoff and you might get an offer to another course. That might be either here at this university or at another university. So it depends. We would only say take up an offer either here or at another university if you're genuinely interested in the course. People have said to me over the years, I really want to come to UNSW and I want to do commerce, but I don't think I'm going to get the cutoff. It's in the 90s. I might get, say, 80. So they say if I get an offer to science, I just want to get anything at UNSW so I can come and do commerce. Generally, that's not a good plan. You generally do better at something that you're interested in. So you're probably better off doing a course that's similar, like a commerce program with a lower cutoff at another university, and then applying to transfer. So you can transfer from outside the university or from within the university. We've got an extensive internal program transfer system as well, but it depends what you actually get an offer to. There are lots of pathways into the course that you really want.
And Sonia, if people have followed your advice from earlier, hopefully they will have preferenced everything that they wanted to do, and we won't end up in a situation where someone has an offer to something that they don't ultimately want to do as well.
Correct. That's exactly right. Yeah. So you need to be realistic with your preferences now that you've got your ATAR. So you probably put your UAC application in September. Hopefully you did, so you didn't have to pay a processing fee, late fee. But you would have had a reasonable idea then of what you wanted to do. Now that you've all got your ATARs, you can reevaluate and have a look at the preferences that you've got, have a look at cut-offs in the last few years and see whether the things that you're applying for are realistic. So, for example, if you wanted to do law, say, here at the University of Sydney, and you've got an ATAR of 75, then that's not a realistic preference. So you need to do those sorts of things at this time of year.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Sophie, do you have any advice there, or do you think Sonia's kind of covered that pretty well, I think?
Yeah, she has covered it really well. I'll just add in, though, that we always advise students to accept their main round offer. The reason being, if you wait to late round, the degrees may have filled up and you may not be made an offer. So by accepting your main round offer, you've always got options. As Sonia said, transferring from another institution or our internal program transfer, you've always got options. If you don't accept that main round offer and you're not made an offer in the late round, then unfortunately there's nothing we can do.
Yeah, so that's a good point, Sophie. What people sometimes think, where we get calls in admissions, they don't get an offer to the program they wanted in the main round, so they ring and they say, might I get a late round offer? So what's important to know is at UNSW we don't lower our cut-offs in the late round. If you weren't eligible for an offer in the main round, then you're not going to get one in the late round. If anything, our cut-offs in the late round go up because we have far fewer places to give away. So generally we make about 7,000 offers or so in the main round, and in the late round, like the early February round, we make maybe 700 or 800. So by far, the majority are made in the main round, and a lot of universities fill their courses in the main round. So definitely accept a main round offer. You're not committed to enrolling and being there at the census date. Take that offer. UAC would also advise students to accept any offer and then see what other offers you might get before you make a final decision.
Exactly, excellent advice. I'm going to just make a comment quickly to our colleague Emma in the Future Students Office. If she can assist me by selecting some of those questions in the Q&A app, I'm having some difficulty doing that from here. So Emma, I'm looking at Connor's question, which is, have the ATAR cutoffs for courses been decided for next year? And since Sonia's already answered that question, we do not know what our ATAR cutoffs are for this year. I'm going to say that Connor's question is definitely answered. Thank you, Connor, for submitting it. And I'm now going to move on to another question in our kind of stock pool of questions, and then I'd encourage you to keep submitting your questions on the side. I can see them coming in, and we will get to them in probably the next 2 or 3 minutes. I'm just going to ask a few other questions before we start answering those very specific questions. The next question, and I think Sonia has touched on this already, so I'll turn to you again, Sonia, which is, what if you have an ATAR below 80? So UNSW, University of New South Wales, has a minimum ATAR cutoff of an 80 ATAR. But what if I have a below an 80 ATAR and I still really, really want to study at UNSW? What options do I have? What should I be thinking about at this point?
Okay. It doesn't, if your ATAR is below 80, it doesn't automatically rule you out of admission to UNSW. There are some programs for which it may be possible for you to gain admission. So, for example, our College of Fine Arts, now called Art and Design, has a portfolio system that will look at students who have an ATAR between 70 and 80, and some of our other courses are similar. The cut-off of 80 that Jonathan's talking about includes any bonus points. So you might have an ATAR of, say, 79, but you may be eligible for 3 bonus points from HSC Plus because you've done well in a particular course. That then pushes you over that minimum 80 cut-off. But if you're well below any of those things, any of the cut-offs, and you're not entitled to any of those bonuses, then you'd be looking to maybe go to another university in 2015 that has lower cut-offs than us, and applying to transfer, or perhaps going and doing a diploma at TAFE, completing a diploma, and then being considered on the basis of your diploma results. Lots of students transfer in. So a lot of students who don't get in the first half of the year do things like that. They go to another university or they do a TAFE qualification and then they apply to UNSW, and we look at those results.
Thank you, Sonia. Sophie, I'm going to turn to you. Can you talk us through HSC Plus bonus points a little bit more? Because I think a lot of students at this point probably have some questions about what is HSC Plus, how does it actually work, and what do you need to do right now to think about HSC Plus?
Okay, so HSC Plus bonus points awards students that are doing well in subjects that are relevant to the degree that they're interested in studying. There is no application is required. It's very, very simple. UAC awards the bonus points automatically. It's a maximum of 5. And I would advise students at this stage to go onto our website, so unsw.edu.au/HSC Plus. And you, about halfway down the page, you can calculate how many points you would be eligible for. So you put in your faculty and the degree that you're interested in studying, and it will show the subjects and the bands that students would have had to get, and the bonus points that we would award them.
Excellent. So the HSC Plus website, I would love to share my screen with you at the moment, but unfortunately I'm unable to do that as well. So just quickly, the HSC Plus website is unsw.edu.au/HSCPLUS. Again, if you just go to Google and search for UNSW HSC Plus, I'm sure you'll come across the website pretty quickly. And as Sophie was mentioning, there's a lot of information there on the kind of bonus points that you would be eligible for. Sophie, do you have anything else to add about HSC Plus? Do you think anything else relevant to share at this point?
Just bear in mind that the subjects and the bands, when you're looking them up, they are specific to that degree. So don't assume, when you look at the points, don't assume that those points will apply for all of the degrees that you're interested in. Make sure that you're looking at each individual degree, because the subjects and the bands and the points awarded do vary.
Okay, excellent. And Sophie, here's another question for HSC Plus. So if a student has an ATAR of 91 and the cutoff for the particular degree that they're interested in is a 94, if they're eligible for 5 HSC Plus bonus points, will they definitely get an offer to that particular degree?
As long as they meet the entry requirements for the year. It's very hard to always say that UNSW will definitely make you an offer. We don't like to say that. But let's just say they would be in a very, very strong position to be made an offer.
Exactly. And that's, we still don't know what the ATAR cutoffs are for this coming year for semester 1 of 2015, but if everything stays the same, theoretically you're in a very good position to be made an offer.
Very good position, yes.
Yes, exactly. I'm going to now turn to a question from, I was just looking at DJ Thornton. Now this is a pretty tricky question, so Emma's just going to select that question for us. DJ has asked, another university, I won't say their name here, just offered me an academic scholarship, but I really want to go to UNSW. I've applied for UNSW scholarships, but I haven't heard anything yet. So in order to get the other university scholarship, they've told me I need to set that particular degree as my first preference. What do you recommend I do? This is a really tough question, but I thought it was really relevant, and I thought we probably need to do some exploring potentially on the answer for it as well. Sonia or Sophie, do either of you have any advice here at this point?
The scholarships from our side of things, the confirmation of scholarships are starting to go out soon, but it could be as late as the end of January that students will get confirmation. My advice, and as Sonia said, when you're looking at the preferences, you've got to order those preferences in the order of what you want to be made an offer for. If your heart is set on the other university, then you need to go to the other university. This is a really tricky one. DJ, you're in a very, very good position. It's great that you've been offered the scholarship from the other university. It does make it a slightly harder decision for you.
DJ, what I would recommend that you do is you contact the scholarships office here at the University of New South Wales. So their contact number is 9385-1078. Again, 9385-1078. Give them a call and just chat with them about what they can tell you about the scholarships that you've applied for, when you're likely to find out from them, whether you will be a recipient of that scholarship or not, because main round application deadline for changing your preferences isn't until the 7th of January, so there is still some time here. And I think a majority of our scholarship offers do go out prior to Christmas. It's the exception for those that go out further into January. But again, ring scholarships at UNSW and chat with them, and they can give you hopefully a little bit more information to help make that decision a little bit easier for you as well. Thank you, DJ, for that question. I'm going to just remind you all that you're welcome to submit questions at any point in the Q&A app here within the Hangout, and we will get to them as soon as we can. I'm going to turn to another one, which was here. Just need to find it really quickly. So it comes from Anastasia Milwain, and her question is about the Bachelor of Music, Bachelor of Education Secondary at UNSW. She says that she's been successful in the audition, so she's been notified by the faculty that she's been successful in her audition for the music program, but not sure if she'll be made an offer in the main round because she's received an ATAR that's below 80. Is it possible for her to receive an offer with that cutoff below, with that ATAR below 80? Sonia, you were talking a bit about this before, and some of the other pathways that might get you into the university without an 80 ATAR or above. So can you just kind of give us some information there?
Sure. It's not impossible. It depends how many applicants we get for music and the strength of their qualifications. She might be entitled to some HSC plus bonus points if she's done music at school, for example. She's passed the audition. The 80 minimum requirement is for courses that don't have additional criteria, and this course does. It has audition as well. So you may well get an offer. I would certainly leave it as a preference. It's possible. And then alternatively, be looking at other institutions that have music as an alternative, maybe with a lower cutoff at another university, or doing something at TAFE and then applying to transfer, or one of the, like Australian Institute of Music or something like that, and then applying to transfer into us. But you might possible.
Sophie?
I'll just add in. So Anastasia, when you're thinking about your preferences, the Bachelor of Music, Bachelor of Education dual degree is normally slightly higher than the straight Bachelor of Music. So when you're thinking about your preferences, obviously your first preference should always be your dream degree, but as your backup, you might want to have the Bachelor of Music just as a standalone degree, because it might be slightly easier to get into. And then after 1 year, you can use our internal program transfer to then add on the education degree.
Excellent. So that would require the requirements for that internal program transfer. I think, Sonia, you've mentioned it a few times, yeah. Sophie as well. Sonia, can you talk us through how that internal program transfer process works? And if you're not comfortable with that, Sophie, would you?
Yeah, no, I can. We've got a fairly comprehensive website, actually, and I'd encourage people who are applying and think they might not get into their preferred course at UNSW to get onto the internal program transfer website to have a look at what the requirements are. The website's fairly straightforward. It's just our normal website, unsw.edu.au/IPT, so IPT for internal program transfer, and it has each of the faculties and what the requirements are for people to apply. Mostly you need to have done 2 semesters, but in some cases you can apply after 1 semester to apply for from one course to the other. So quite a number of students apply internally, and it's just an online process, like through our student system. It's really straightforward.
Excellent, thank you, Sonia. I have another question here from, his name is, there's actually 2, they're fairly similar and related. So I'm going to go with the one from Tong. And Tong's question is, I got an 87.95 ATAR and I want to enter criminology criminal justice course at UNSW. And that has a published cutoff at the moment of an 83 ATAR. And as we've discussed earlier, we don't know what the ATAR will be for next year, but for 2014 entry, it had an ATAR of 83. He's also from a rural area. What will be the chance of getting in?
Well, Tom, congratulations on an excellent result. And if I were you, I'd be feeling quite confident getting it off that course, which is very exciting. It's a really, really good course. And the cutoff for the last few years has been around 80 to mid-80s. If you're sitting on 89 point something, you'd probably be entitled to some HSC bonus points as well. So you're probably going to be over that 89 range, unless for some unknown reason 50 million people all of a sudden want to do criminology, then I'd be feeling very confident of getting an offer to that course.
Excellent.
But you won't get
Thank you.
it until the 21st. You've got to wait. But yeah, I'll be feeling quite confident. That's an excellent course.
Wonderful, thank you. Josh has a similar question, which is, so Tong's question was about being from a rural area as well, and does that have any influence on his application? And I think Josh's question below that, so Josh Halldale's question, he is looking to get into a combined law degree at UNSW. He has an ATAR of 99.2, and he submitted an EAS application. So Sonia, can you talk to us a little bit about what is EAS? And does it affect someone's eligibility for degrees at UNSW?
Yes, it certainly does. So EAS stands for Educational Access Schemes, and it's a program for students who've experienced long-term educational disadvantage during years 11 and 12. That's the generic term for all institutions' access schemes. Ours is called the UNSW Access Scheme. So we have those circumstances assessed centrally by UAC, and then each university decides what they're going to do with that assessment. We use bonus points at UNSW, so based on the degree of disadvantage that you've experienced, we will award bonus points if you're eligible under our scheme. So it depends what circumstances you've demonstrated or applied for. Some students don't actually need to put in an application. We create what's called a virtual EAS application for people that go to disadvantaged schools, so rural schools and other disadvantaged schools. UAC creates an application on your behalf. But if you have other types of disadvantage, like your low SES, so you're on youth allowance, or you've had a death in the family, or something's happened during years 11 and 12, you need to put in a paper application, and all of those circumstances are taken into account. And I think, what was this boy's name?
His name.
Yeah, so if you're on 99.2, again, excellent result, well done. Entry to our law school, of course, is extremely competitive. If you are eligible for EAS, so you've demonstrated severe disadvantage over the last few years, and that would mean for us that you've gone to a disadvantaged rural school, essentially, then if you're eligible for our access scheme, that means you get a minimum of 1 EAS point. So that would mean that you would most certainly be eligible for admission to law. So tomorrow morning, people, you will all find out whether you're eligible for EAS at each of the UAC participating institutions. UAC will be sending you a letter on our behalf by email, no more hard copy, but tomorrow morning you'll get a letter and it will tell you whether you're eligible at each of the 15 or so participating UAC institutions. So for us, UNSW, it will say yes, you're either eligible or no, you're not. If you are, it means that you'll get between 1 and 10 EAS points. Okay?
So
and of course, 10's for people who are extremely disadvantaged.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you, Josh, for that question. So tomorrow you'll have a little bit more information about whether or not UNSW, whether you're eligible for EAS bonus points at UNSW, and you'll find that out from UAC tomorrow, and then hopefully that will kind of help make your decision for you a little bit more, make that decision a little bit easier, hopefully, as well. I'm going to turn to a question now from Antonis, whose question is, I have received an ATAR of 97, and my first selection is, in the UAC preferences, is for a Bachelor of Advanced Science at UNSW. What's next?
Excellent. What's next is we wait until the 21st of January, and we feel very confident that it's highly likely that we'll get an offer. So if your ATAR is 97, then almost certainly you will be entitled to some HSC bonus points, because I would hope that if you're applying and you're very interested in advanced science, you will have done HSC mathematics, maybe extension 1s, chemistry, some physics, etc. And if your ATAR is that high, then your results in those courses will be very high and you will be given bonus points on top of your 97. So I'd be feeling extremely confident. But yeah, we can't do anything until the 21st of January, 6 o'clock.
Your preferences and your UAC preferences are in order and they're the way you want them to be, then you're all good to go. You
just sit there and wait. Yep.
Exactly. Wonderful. Thank you for that question. We have a question here from Thomas Atkins, and it's about the Academic Achievement Award at UNSW. And there's been some changes to that Academic Achievement Award this year. And so I think it's probably a really good question for us to just quickly touch on. I'm going to turn to Sophie for that as well. So, Sophie, the question from Thomas is, the Academic Achievement Award comes with 3 bonus points, and that's a question he's asking. Are all New South Wales schools eligible, and when do they find out if they've got it? If they're the recipient of the AAA award? Are you happy to answer that question? You're looking a little unsure.
No, you can take that one, Jonathan.
So, Thomas, the AAA award at UNSW, it's changed slightly this year in that the Academic Achievement Award used to be a nominated scholarship from each individual school. So the school would pick their highest academic achiever in year 11 and year 12 and nominate them for the AAA award, and they would get a $4,000 scholarship and then 3 bonus points for the degree of their choice at UNSW if they were within 5 of the cutoff. The change this year is that we're now going to be, we as a University of New South Wales will be contacting the highest achiever at the school based on ATAR results by the 23rd of December and notifying you that you are the recipient of the Academic Achievement Award, and with that you'll have the $4,000 scholarship and then 3 bonus points if you're within 5 of the cutoff of the particular degree that you're interested in. So you'll know soon if you are the AAA recipient. If your school happens to have people who are tied with ATAR results, then we will issue more than 1 AAA award for each school that is eligible. And it is all schools in New South Wales and the ACT are eligible for AAA awards. So watch this space, I would say. You'll be hearing from the scholarships office soon if you are the recipient. And it's a really great opportunity for you if you are the person who has the highest ATAR at your school. So thank you, Thomas, for that question. I'm now going to go down to a question from Emily Banks. And before I take Emily's question, I'm just going to remind you all that are watching at home at the moment or wherever you're watching around the world, you can submit your questions at any time just by using the Q&A app on the side. If you see someone's question in the list of questions that you think is really awesome and you really want to know an answer, feel free to vote it up. The more votes, it'll come to the top of my list, and we'll see it more quickly and realize many people want to see that answered. So go ahead and submit those questions when you can. So Emily's question is that she is looking to do an engineering degree and interested in studying a language at the same time. She was at UNSW recently for interviews, and someone in the engineering faculty mentioned that she could do a diploma of language with her bachelor's degree. How does she do that? When does she apply for that diploma? Is it something that happens right now? Is it something that happens once she's enrolled at UNSW? What happens? Sonia, you're looking most confident.
Okay, it's not something that she would do now. It's not offered through UAC. It's the applications come directly to us in admissions and we process them. Generally, from memory, they actually go to the arts faculty in the first place because arts runs the diploma. From memory, over the years, most people that do them don't tend to do them in first year. And I would be inclined to say, Emily, that you probably best not to do it in first year concurrently with your first year engineering program, just because it's first year university. There's a bit of adjustment, you know, coming from high school and being on campus for the year. A lot of distractions, shall I say. So, yeah, you certainly can do it, but I think that your faculty would recommend that you maybe do it from second year onwards, and then you just do it through, go and see the people in our arts and social sciences faculty. But there's lots of languages that people can do. We've got quite a good language program here. So. Yep.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Sonia. Thank you, Emily, for that question. I'm now going to turn to Sabrina Ho's question, and it kind of relates to HSE Plus bonus points as well as our Elite Athletes and Performers bonus points question. So my second question after we get through Sabrina's question will be to just briefly touch on what Elite Athletes and Performers bonus points questions are. But Sabrina's question is, for the combined commerce degree, do the people who get the raw ATAR necessary for that particular degree receive preferential entry into that degree compared to those who have a selection rank of the same once they've factored in EAP and HSE Plus bonus points?
No, absolutely not. So the process all happens, I'm happy to say, Sabrina, it's all pretty much electronic. So we've programmed the system to apply HSC Plus bonus points, and we program the system to apply Elite Athlete and Performer bonuses to people who are eligible for them, and people get bonuses for educational disadvantage as well. So all that stuff is in the UAC system, and they're considered, we don't look at, and then selection just happens. So if your ATAR is 90 and you don't get any bonus points, and my ATAR is 87 and I get 5 Elite Athlete points, that brings my rank up to 92. I'm above you, and if the cutoff ends up being 91, I get an offer and you don't. Okay, so it's just, everyone is just ranked, so any bonus points don't change your ATAR, they change what we call your selection rank. So everyone has a selection rank, a UNSW selection rank for each of their UNSW preferences, and when we're making offers, we look at everyone's selection rank, and they ranked from highest to lowest until we fill our places, and that's where the cutoff is.
Excellent. Thank you, Sonia. And thank you.
Yeah, did that make sense to you guys?
Sabrina, didn't make sense to you, just let us know and we'll talk about it a little bit more again, but I think we probably answered that question. Thank you, Sabrina, for submitting it. I'm now going to turn back to some of the questions. Please keep those questions coming in through the Q&A. If you do have some additional ones, I'll definitely come back to them. I just wanted to quickly touch on Elite Athletes and Performers bonus points, just so that we've used what it is. Someone's asked a question about them. Sophie, can you tell us what are the Elite Athletes and Performers bonus points, and can you also tell me, can you still apply?
Okay, so the Elite Athletes and Performers bonus points recognises significant time taken out of the HSE study for sporting, academic or leadership achievements. And the short answer is absolutely no. Applications close on the 30th of November. They opened in August, closed on the 30th of November, and unfortunately we do not take any late applications. So students, if they were successful, would have been notified already by email.
Okay, so people who've applied for Elite Athletes and Performers bonus points have already been notified if they're eligible, and they would be eligible for up to 5 bonus points, which they could add to their HSE Plus points, correct?
Yes, correct. And I think it's also important to say I've just seen another question come through. It's a maximum of 5 points for HSE Plus and a maximum of 5 points for the Elite Athletes and Performers. They can be used together. However, if you include access, it's a maximum of 10 bonus points across all of the bonus point programs.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Sophie. I'm now going to turn to a question from, I'm going to go back to a question from our matrix of questions, which is, and I think I've asked this question already, but what if, and I'll turn to both Sophie and Sonia, so I'll start with you, Sophie. What if you don't get an offer at all for semester 1 2015 study? What should you do?
If you're not made an offer at all? At
all. Anyway.
Okay. I think Sonia touched on this previously, and it's kind of about, Sonia, I'm sure you'll agree, managing your expectations when you're putting those preferences. You really, as Sonia said, at an ATAR of 75, you're not going to be made an offer to, for example, law at UNSW. So I would say start by managing those expectations when you're looking at your preferences. If you're not made an offer at all, Sonia, I think you said look at perhaps TAFE as an option, or going to get some other qualification maybe that we could then assess you on the following year, or maybe you could look at mid-year entry.
Excellent.
Or you could go off and work for a few years, you know, go off and get a job and then do something like we have a preparation program for older students that people can do when they're, that you have to be 21 in the year of admission. So that's not that far away. You might want to go off and travel or go and get a job out in the real world, see what working's like, and then come back and do something like our university preparation program and apply for university then. A lot of people don't even really know what they want to do at uni yet, so that's not that uncommon for people who are 17 or 18. There's a huge choice these days in university degrees, so you might just want to take a bit of time out and do some other things and then come back and study when you're a little bit older.
Excellent. Thank you both for that answer. I'm now going to turn to a question that's come in via the Q&A from Brunella. Her question is in regards to schools classified under SO1E, which is essentially going to be a question that comes down to how many bonus points are awarded by UNSW for EAS, various different disadvantages under EAS. Sonia, can you tell us this? I know this is a fairly straightforward answer. How many bonus points are awarded for each individual type of disadvantage at UNSW?
So that depends on each application is assessed individually. As I said, it depends. There's a range of circumstances and a range of types of disadvantage. So it depends on individual applicant circumstances. The school disadvantage categories are on UAC's website. And I'm just having a quick look here. We've changed them recently. So I'm just double checking what SO1E means. It's kind of new. So
I believe SO1E, I think it's based on rural, but I'm not 100%.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so I'm just having a quick look. It may well be.
Well, and while... Go ahead, yep.
Yeah, what were you going to say, Jonathan?
I was just going to... Brunella has another question, which I might actually turn to Sophie for. And Sonia, when you found that answer, we'll come back to you for that as well. Brunella's other question is...
I found it. It's all good. I found it. Okay, so... Brunella, the good news for you is that if you attend an SO1E school, which you tell me you do, then you're automatic, I can tell you right now, you're automatically eligible for UNSW's access scheme. So, and that's, we give that information out in the EAS booklet, and I think on our website as well. So any of those schools, there's the federal government programs have changed recently, so the names of them have kind of changed a bit. But if you're in a school, and you can have a look at UAC's website, we've got the list of all of the schools on there that people can look up. If you've attended one of those schools, you're automatically considered eligible for our access scheme. A lot of people tend to have other disadvantages as well, like they might be on youth allowance or have other issues that they want to apply for. But yes, you're definitely eligible. You'll find out tomorrow when you get your letter.
Sonia, her other question is, how many points will she be eligible for because of that SOE one?
It depends, it depends. Yes. So yes, let's go to that. This is my favourite topic, people. Let's talk about AIS bonus points. It's my favourite topic. So at UNSW, if you're eligible for the access scheme, you will get between 1 and 10 EAS points. Okay, so tomorrow you'll get a letter from UAC and it'll say you're either eligible or you're not eligible for the access scheme here. If it says you are, then you will receive between 1 and 10 EAS points. The number of EAS points you get depends on two things. One is the types of disadvantage that you've demonstrated to us, and the second is the course that you're applying to. So in an ideal world, I would be able to tell the X number of thousand EAS people, like you, Ella, exactly how many EAS points you're going to get. Okay. However, EAS data, as I'm sure some of you will appreciate, is quite sensitive. So there's lots of personal information that people put in EAS applications, and we treat student confidentiality very seriously at UNSW. What that means is that only me and one other person, my colleague, have access to EAS data. Okay, so unfortunately I can't make 6,000 phone calls or whatever and ring you all up and tell you what you've got. And in any case, it doesn't really give you a lot of information because, as I said before, we don't know what the cutoff is either. Okay, so I know students at this time of the year like to do things like, okay, I've got my ATAR, it's 90. I can see I'm going to get X number of HSC plus bonus points because we can show you that. It's on the website. We've made it all clear, and you get told how many EAP points that you've got. Ideally, you'd also be able to see how many EAS points you've got. I can't release all that information to 10,000 applicants, and we don't know what the cut-offs are either. So the best you can do is gather all of that information. If you are getting a yes for EAS, you know you'll get between 1 and 10, and you're going to have to go with that. The alternative is that some other universities tell students how many EAS points they have. But I tell you why they can do that. They can do that because they give everyone the same number of EAS points. Right? So if people ring up, they say, Jonathan rings up and goes, I'm an EAS person, how many EAS points am I getting? The answer's 4, for example. So quite easy, all the staff can be briefed. We don't do it that way. We do it a different way because we think that it's important to distinguish between applicants on the basis of the level of disadvantage. So say Jonathan and I both put in an EAS application. We both go to a disadvantaged school. Right? But on top of that, my mother's been very ill with cancer. I've had several other disadvantages. A whole heap of things have happened to me. What we do at the university is we say, right, well, Sonia's a bit more disadvantaged than Jonathan. We're going to give Sonia more bonus than we are Jonathan. Okay? And we think that's a fairer way of doing it, that you can distinguish between applicants on the basis of the level of their disadvantage. So that's why we can't just send out, like a mass communication that says you all have 3. Okay?
Excellent. Thank you for that, Sonia. Now, Brunella's other question, which I'm going to turn to Sophie for, is that she indicates that she has been awarded a UNSW scholarship, and UNSW is her first choice for uni, but she's also been offered a guaranteed early placement at another university. She's eligible for a number of HSC plus and other bonus points, probably close to the maximum of 10, and she has an ATAR of 75. What would we recommend that she does? Should she accept that other university offer, or should she keep her offer because UNSW is her first choice? What should she do?
Well,
If you've already been given an offer, then you can accept it. We would say accept all offers. Accepting an offer doesn't tie you to the course. You can accept that offer, and then you can wait and see what other offers you get.
Exactly, and I think, Sophie, you were saying something very similar earlier as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Accept that offer. That's fantastic. Well done on receiving that offer. But then what you can do, accept that early offer, and then reshuffle your preferences to have it is just as Sonia and I have said from the beginning. Always have that list of preferences then as in the order that you would like to be made an offer.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Sophie and Sonia. And thank you, Brunella, for both of your questions as well. One of the questions that we have here is from Matthew, and I'm going to come back to that in just a moment about how the credit system works and how fees works, and because there's a lot of kind of confusion around how fees are changing potentially at the university. So we'll come back to that question in just a moment from Matthew. But I also wanted to touch on a few other things in the last 10 minutes of this Hangout that we have. So one of the things we get questions about in the Future Students Office a fair bit is about bridging courses. What if I haven't done the particular assumed knowledge component for a particular degree? Am I not going to get an offer because I don't have that assumed knowledge? Or is there a way for me to get that assumed knowledge at this point? So which of you would you like to start with that question, Sophie or Sonia?
I'll take that one.
Sonia?
Yes, so no, it won't prevent you from getting an offer. So, and it's an important question students ask, that are sometimes confused with this. Assumed knowledge means that when you rock up to class in first week of class, the teacher is going to assume that you've done what is assumed knowledge for that course. Okay, so you rock up to, say, first year engineering, and they're going to assume that you've done HSC Maths Extension 1 and Physics. If you haven't done those courses, then it doesn't stop you from getting into the program. Let's say you've got an ATAR of 99, right, and you apply for engineering, and you haven't done those courses. We're not going to stop you from getting an offer, but if you don't do a bridging course between getting your offer and, well, between now and starting classes, you're going to be at a mega disadvantage in the course. So we run bridging courses in January. They start, I think, this year on about the 19th of January, and they go for 4 weeks before semester starts. So the bridging courses actually start before you even find out whether you've got an offer. Okay, because we need to jam them in before session starts. There's maths, physics and chemistry, and they're offered by the Faculty of Science. They have the information up on their website, which is just science.unsw.edu.au. But no, it doesn't stop you from getting into the course.
Now, the other question is, does it matter where you do a bridging course? So let's say that another university, I live much closer to a university other than UNSW. Could I do a bridging course there, or do I have to do it at UNSW? And do I have to do it at all? I think you've already answered that you don't have to do it, just to your advantage to do that. But do I have to do it at UNSW if I'm wanting to do it?
You don't have to. I mean, clearly we would advise that you're better off doing it here because you're here on our campus getting used to studying here. But you certainly could do it at another university because remember, what you're doing when you're doing a bridging course is for your own benefit. You know, it's up to you to get the background knowledge so you can be successful in your studies. So you could do it at another university. We would just recommend that you contact that university, have a chat to the people that are running the bridging course to get an idea of what sort of level it takes you to, whether it would be sufficient to come and do our first year courses, for example.
Thank you for that, Sonia. Yeah, go ahead, Sophie.
Sorry, I'll just add in also, it's best for students to enroll in the bridging courses, and then if they, for example, with the offers coming out on the 21st of January, if they aren't made an offer for the degree that they needed the bridging course for, they've got until the 22nd of January to withdraw. So it's better to be safe than sorry. So go ahead and enroll in the bridging course, and if you aren't made an offer then to the degree that you need the bridging course for, then you have got that time to withdraw.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you both. I have a question here from John, and then also a screen name that I don't know what it is, but they're both very similar. So John Wong's question is, since 2015 cutoffs are still not available yet, just wondering how much have cutoffs fluctuated from year to year? How much do they fluctuate? He actually asks, how much do they fluctuate more than 2 ATAR points in the popular courses in the past? Sonny, can you just give us a rough idea of how dramatically do ATAR cutoffs move usually?
Well, for the last couple of years, not very dramatically. And they haven't gone down for the last 2 or 3 years. They usually go up or stay the same. Sometimes they go down, but not hugely. So usually, it's a couple of points, either up or down. Sometimes they go down or up because of popular sort of careers and things that are happening out in the employment market and so on. But generally, they're relatively stable. I can't think of anything that's gone massively up, more than 2, for example, in the last few years, and certainly not down either. So, but as I say, you just never know. It depends. There are so many factors. It depends who's applying and what their qualifications are. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Sonia, and thank you, John, for your question. And also thank you, the screen name 621, for that question. Matthew's question now about fees. I'm going to just turn briefly to Sophie for an answer on this, just kind of a quick overview of the fees situation. You're shaking your head, not like. Matthew's question is, can you please explain how the units of credit system works in terms of fees and individual subjects? Now, with Matthew, your question, fees are set by particular subjects, and there are fee bands for each individual subject up to a certain price for what is then full-time tuition in a particular study area. And there are 3 fee bands, I believe, at this point. Sonny, can you correct me if I'm wrong about that?
Yes, pretty much.
And broadly, particular study areas fall within those fee bands. Now, that's for 2015 study at UNSW. So if you are studying full-time, the fee is published within those fee bands, what it would be to study a full-time degree in that particular study area. For 2016 study, the federal government has proposed new funding arrangements for university fees. And at the moment, it hasn't passed the Senate. So this is unfortunately one of those watch this space kind of areas where we don't know what fees will be for 2016, and all universities are in that position in Australia at the moment. So watch this space, contact your federal member of parliament and let them know that you're concerned or you have questions, and hopefully there will be some answers on that very, very soon. But thank you, Matthew, for that question. You can find out more information on fees at the university by going to the fees website. So just Google UNSW fees and it should take you to that site where you can find out some more information. Now, there are a couple of other things that we get questions about a fair bit that I just wanted to get quick answers to in our last 3 minutes. One of the questions we hear from students a fair bit is, what if I got a really, really great, outstanding ATAR result today, and now my degree that I want to preference has a cutoff over the past few years that's much, much lower? Would I be wasting my ATAR if I went with that other degree? So I'm going to turn to Sophie. Sophie, do you want to answer that first?
Absolutely, and I was going to mention that we have had a large volume of phone calls this morning with that exact question. You've got to remember the ATAR is an indicator of demand. It's not an indicator of difficulty or prestige. It's purely based on the demand for that degree. There's no such thing as wasting an ATAR. Your time at university has to be enjoyable, and you're only going to enjoy it if you're doing something that you are so passionate about. So please don't be concerned about wasting an ATAR. Do the degree that you are most passionate about, because that's what you're going to do really well in. Excellent.
Great answer on that one. The other question is this one question here from Emma Udale, which I think is really relevant, and again, we only have about 2 minutes left. But Emma's question is, with an ATAR of 97.55 and 4 bonus points through EAP and Access, am I in a strong position to enter combined law, or should I rethink my preferences? Now, I think there's some really good things there. What should you be doing? So you're within about 2 of the cutoff, potentially 2 or 3 bonus points from the cutoff of that particular degree. Should you completely reorient reorganize your preferences, or should you leave an aspirational preference being that you're close and you don't know what the ATAR cutoff will be? Who wants to take that with a 30-second response?
I'll answer it, but I would remind me of remind me of the question. Tell me again.
The question is, she has a 97.55, believes that she has 4 bonus points through EAP and Access, and wonders if she's in a strong position or if she should totally rethink her preferences.
An excellent position, because if she's on 97.95 and she should have been told how many EAS points she has, you tell me she's got it. EAP, I mean, yeah. So she can add them on, and then if she finds out tomorrow that she's EAS eligible, she knows that she'll have at least 1 EAS point. So it sounds highly likely to me that her rank will be 99.95, and then she will get offered a combined law.
Excellent. Would you recommend that people keep that aspirational preference even if the ATAR seems a little bit higher than what they have at the moment, what the cutoff might be?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like as I said before, if it's like way out, you know, like there's absolutely no way our cutoff for combined law is ever going to be 85 even. You know, it's never been below 99 essentially. So if you're roundabout, close-ish, then definitely leave preferences. We've had people in the past that didn't list preferences and then the cut-off's gone down and they've missed out on the course because we filled all our places and didn't have any in the late round. So you definitely leave things that you're close to that if you really want that course, definitely.
Thank you, Sonia, and thank you, Emma, for that question. My last question is one I've already asked of Sophie, but I'm going to ask it again. There are 2 things here. What if you've got more questions about the degree options at UNSW? Where can you get some more answers to those questions? And if you're not sure about your UAC preferences or about which particular degree is right for you, what should you do? Where should you go? What should be your next steps?
Well, you can always call us, and I know you're going to put the Future Students Office number on the screen at the end of this, but come along to Info Day. We cannot stress enough, it's very important to come along if you are still unsure about what you want to have as your preference finalised on the 7th. So Info Day is Tuesday the 6th of January. It's from 9 AM to 4 PM here at the Kensington campus. Come along and get all of your questions answered by faculty, staff, and academics.
Excellent. So as Sophie mentioned, I've just shared that screen with the contact information for the Future Students Office. We're available to answer any questions that you have at the moment. So if you do want to give us a ring, 9385-1844. We'll be here until 5 o'clock this evening. We'll also be in on Friday, so we're happy to take those calls tomorrow. You can also submit an inquiry via our inquiry website, which you can see on the screen in front of you, inquiry.unsw.edu.au. The university is shutting down on Friday at 5 p.m. So if you have questions anytime after that, you can definitely still continue to use the inquiry website. Some of our faculties will have people available to answer questions up until about Christmas Eve. The admissions office will be open as well. Do check out the UNSW homepage. There's a banner that will be going up tomorrow afternoon that shows you who will be open, what will be the faculty contacts that will be available as well. So do have a look at that if that is something that you're interested in doing. And I'm just going to stop sharing my screen and come back to me. I think that's everything. So thank you all for joining us. If we didn't get a chance to answer any of the specific questions that you've put in the Q&A app or on the comments on the app, on the Hangout on the Google Plus page, do contact us in the Future Students Office. We're happy to answer all those questions. And we want to be able to see you at Info Day as well. So without anything else, I would like to thank both Sonia and Sophie for joining us today. And I wish you all the best over the holidays in the next few weeks, and we hope to see you in January. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.